We jump to our other big story, the EPA rollbacks coming from the White House. You're looking at CBS News' senior White House correspondent, Weijia Jiang. Weijia, you were able to speak to key players in this rollback. What should we know about what the EPA will now do?
So, Errol, first, we need to know what we're talking about, which is the endangerment finding. It's important to note this is not a policy. This was a scientific finding declared under the Obama administration in 2009 that greenhouse gases like methane or carbon dioxide are harmful to human health and the environment. And because that was established, there were several resulting climate regulation policies, for example, requiring certain vehicle emission standards. But now the president has repealed that finding and several existing related policies. He says this is going to save the country $1.3 trillion in regulatory costs and make it about $2,400 cheaper to buy a vehicle. But of course, environmentalists are really concerned about the costs to public health and the environment. I asked President Trump about that, and his message to anyone who was worried is do not worry. He says this is all a scam. So after that announcement and that exchange with the president, we had an exclusive interview with the EPA administrator, Lee Zeldin, to talk about why they are doing this now. This is a little bit of what he said.
Following the best reading of the Clean Air Act, all the mental leaps of the 2009 Obama endangerment finding are inappropriate. They're not authorized in statute. What happened in 2009 was all sorts of different mental leaps were taken in order to claim an authority that the Clean Air Act doesn't provide, and then use that for trillions of dollars of regulation.
So this administration is basing the reversal on their interpretation of the law of the Clean Air Act from 1970, which addresses air pollutants in the environment. And Zeldin and the president claim that it does not include greenhouse gases, and that is why they are making this reversal. But, Errol, as you can imagine, many environmental groups disagree. They are already preparing challenges in court, and until those challenges play out, automakers are pretty hesitant to make any significant changes to their manufacturing and their vehicles.
And, Weijia, what's interesting as you lay that out is that policy opinions may be one thing and are expected, but as you started to explain this, you said that the initial 2009 endangerment finding is based on science. So is the Trump administration providing any new science or reasoning to back up their decision for rejecting it?
They say that there is data to show that the research and the science is not concrete. However, there have been independent reviews by several groups that show the 2009 results still stand and that there is harm to public health and the environment. So the point that the administrator was making was that regardless of the facts, which is a quote that he said, regardless of the facts, regardless of the data, it's against the law. So again, they are really focusing on the Clean Air Act and not the science. And that is why so many people are worried. But I should say that Zeldin points out the science has evolved, and he says so has technology. So the emissions coming out of buses and trucks and cars is not the same that it was in 2009. But again, we are looking for some concrete figures to understand that better.
Yeah, very interesting, and it impacts everybody watching this. So our viewers will be well served to look into these specifics for themselves. Weijia Jiang, we appreciate your reporting very much. Thank you.